Okay, so what can you tell me about Gunpoint?
Gunpoint is a creative stealth puzzle game where you play a secret agent who is hired by his clients to break into high security buildings. And there's all these things like security cameras and alarms and motion sensors out there to stop you, but you have a tool that can rewire them. So you can see how all of the things in the level are connected. You can see that this camera will set off an alarm because there's a line going to it, and then you can drag that line around. So you can drag it to a door, and then when the camera sees you, instead of setting off the alarm, it's going to open the door for you. So it's all about subverting the levels and making them work the way you want them to.
What do you think it is about thievery that makes such great game material? Why do gamers love to steal stuff or pretend to steal stuff?
I think it's because a lot of good fodder for the thrilling situations in both movies and books and games comes from a sense of really high danger. People with guns out to get you, that kind of tension. But there are only two ways to really approach that. You can either be a person in that world killing those people with even bigger guns and mowing them all down, or you can be someone who actually, like in real life, can't really afford to engage 10 different people who are all trying to kill him. And so you need to be stealthy and you need to avoid them and outthink them. And I think there's an inherent, firstly, that's more natural, because I think if I was ever in a real life situation with people with guns, I would be hiding.
Do you have any experience in this or anything?
No. If it came up, I'm going to hide. That's my plan.
And so, what was your inspiration for Gunpoint specifically?
It started with Deus Ex, I think. That's my favorite game of all time, and it's a game that lets you, you're also a secret agent in that, but you have a really wide variety of options for how to go about your objectives, and I was trying to think about what are my favorite options in that game, and it's really about hacking things like turrets and doors and the electrical systems of these levels to make the things that are trying to stop you work in your favor. So you can hack a turret and it can mow down all the people that you're trying to get past. And so I wanted to make a much smaller, scaled-down version in 2D that would really play to just that thrill of just subverting the environment. And then I was trying to think of how can I make it more flexible, more creative, and kind of go further with that element than Deus Ex did in some ways. So I just made a game just about that.
Well, that's cool. What is your history in the industry? I mean, so is this is this your piece de resistance, or is this just another thing? I've done a million of these.
It's my first game, so it's my entry into the industry, I guess. I was a games journalist before that. I worked at PC Gamer, and I was working at PC Gamer all the time I was making Gunpoint. So I only quit that job 2 months ago when Gunpoint came out. So while I was making it, I was reviewing games, and that experience obviously informed a lot of my thinking about how I should make my own game. So Gunpoint is born of a lot of my frustrations with certain elements of games and a lot of the things I love in other games, and really spending a lot of time. I was there 9 years, so by the time I started Gunpoint, I've spent 6 years thinking about what I like in game design, what's good and what's bad.
So that's really interesting. One of my favorite games ever, certainly the last few years, is Bastion, which is one of the major members of the team was Greg Kasavin. Yeah. What do you think? What kind of perspective do you get being a games journalist? When you bring that to making a game, can you summarize, I guess, the way that you're looking at this game that maybe a typical developer isn't?
I think for me at least, it was, I had kind of laundry list of frustrations and things I built up in my career from analyzing games that I wanted to kind of solve and go out and try it my way and see what I could do. So one example is I get very frustrated by games that have bad checkpointing, where you get set back very far if you die. And you lose a lot of progress and you have to do the same things over and over again because you keep dying, keep going back. And so I thought, when I make my game, it's going to auto-save every 5 seconds. And so when you die, you only have to go back sometimes 2 seconds, 3 seconds, never more than 5 seconds if you don't want to. So you never have to do again something that you did right the first time. And so I put that into Gunpoint, and people really appreciate it, and it's worked out really well. And it's kind of it's become a key part of the game.
But do you think in some ways it also makes you more nervous? Have you been obsessing with games for a long time, that if you almost make it too big of a challenge in your own mind?
I think it didn't for me. I guess, it's definitely intimidating and scary to find out how many people are behind some of the games that you review. I remember seeing a photo of the Far Cry 2 team, and it's just hundreds and hundreds of people. When you see them all together, you get a real sense of what a Herculean effort this is. But for me, that made me kind of excited to see if I could find a more efficient way to do it. Can I hit some of the same things that I think are good about games in a much smaller game and do it more efficiently and quicker? And obviously, analysing games for a long time really helped with that, because I was able to zero in on, I think this is important, and I can do those things with a simple set of ingredients.
So you mentioned those huge 200-person teams. How many hundreds of people are working on this game?
There are only 6 people on this game. It's me doing the design, writing, and programming. And then we have 2 artists, John Roberts and Fabian Van Dommelen, and 3 composers, Ryan Ike, John Robert Matz, and Francisco Soda.
And so, where can people find out more about the game and potentially purchase the game?
Gunpointgame.com is our site, and you can both watch a trailer, play a free demo, or buy it for $10, and it's also on Steam.